Session about ChatOps. I did an intro music to get everyone in the same mood. Noise in the background. My name is Knulst. I work for Xpirit as architect and DevOps consultant. And in my spare time I have some hobbies, but I mainly focus on the Microsoft stack. So this session will have some demos on the Microsoft stack. But it's all about the concepts. Before I go ahead, I have a question for you. And the first question I have is, who is doing DevOps in his organization? Okay,
what means DevOps to you?
yeah, that's not going into that question, but okay. I think 80%. Then another question, who knows about ChatOps? Oh yeah, that's the right definition. Who's doing ChatOps? 1 of 3 out of 20, I think. So I think we have some work to do this session. Okay, thank you. I'd like to start with a short story. The story is about John. John is our operations guy, and he is an excellent operations guy because he solves every problem we have, and he knows that. So he takes every work related to the ops side. So when there's a SQL problem, John says, I will fix that. And we do not have permissions to do that because John is the only person who can do that, and he is the person who is best in solving that issue. Sounds familiar?
No.
Who knows a John in his team? Who is a John?
It's called Gijs.
yeah, maybe another name. Who is a John? I think we all have a little bit of John. We like to be seen as an expert on a given subject, and we like to fix that issues instead of others. But now we have a problem because John did a lot of work and made some extra hours. So the coming 2 months, John is on short leave, a sabbatical. And normally when John is not in the office, a lot of issues come up. And I'm not sure whether there's a relation between John's absence and the issues, but that's the case. Sounds familiar? And also this time, we got an exception, an issue in production, so we as a team have to solve that issue. So all team members are working hard to investigate on that issue. John is not able to talk with us because he is far away, a long leave. So how to do this? And we're working hard together, and actually we say to everyone outside our team, do not disturb us, because we have to fix that issue. Because that issue is in production and it costs a lot of money every minute for our organization. But then suddenly management comes in and they ask us, please come with us in our war room and tell us about the issue in production. And the vice president will also be there, so in about 5 minutes I expect the whole team to be part of that meeting. Sounds familiar? And then a question, how many people are working on the solution in this war room?
0.
Exactly, 0. So I think that's strange. We all accept that kind of meetings because management asks us to do that. But instead of being in this session, it's better to work on the solution, because then I think we save more money for our organization. ChatOps helps with it. Another story. There's a new employee hired, and it's his first day. So that employee is working hard to understand the domain, to know the team members, to know about the systems we are developing and maintaining. And we said to him, okay, please read our Wikipedia pages, or maybe we have an internal knowledge exchange tool. And please read all that Word documents. What do you think? Is that a good preparation, good onboarding for that new employee?
I had this 4 times and I hated it every time.
I don't think so, because most of the time that documentation is not up to date. And it's hard to understand because he does not have any support from his other colleagues. Sounds familiar? I think you can imagine this one. ChatOps helps with this. Then another thing, we have some running functionality of a given application in production, and we want to know based on what requirements, bugs, incidents that functionality was made. So I start to look at VSTS, that's the build and release management tooling for the Microsoft stack, but also for non-Microsoft developers. We look in the incident management system, I look in the operations SCOM, maybe some monitoring thing where I can see what happened before that moment we made that fix. I look in Outlook because we had a long mail thread about that issue. I have to look in Slack because someone mentioned something about that issue in Slack. I have to look in Excel because project management had some conversation with business and also end customers about that issue, and he made some notes. Word, I have to look in SharePoint, I have to look in some PowerPoints which were made at that moment. Sounds familiar? A lot of tooling we have to look at to see what actually was the reason for that issue to be fixed. ChatOps helps with this. And then the last one, we are as a development team working hard to deliver a new feature, and we have some freedom in technology choice, etc. We think we have some freedom because in development and test we can just do what we like. But then suddenly when we want to go to acceptance, and this isn't maybe in an old environment, and maybe you are doing DevOps and also operations is part of your team, I hope. But I think in many organizations this is still the case, that then we have to go to operation or security guys and they say, okay, but what you have designed now, that's not good. And then you have this problem, Our SecOps devs, they think, oh man, that are the devs, always doing the same things, they do not know anything about running application production. And at the other side we think, but security and operation, I don't like the guys, they're always complaining. Sounds familiar? I hope not, if you're doing DevOps, but I think still in many DevOps teams, this is also familiar. ChatOps helps with this. Before I go into the solution ChatOps provides, let's first see what ChatOps actually is. And it's a term originally coined by GitHub in 2010, so it's just exists for a while now. And it's all about what GitHub says, putting tools in the middle of the conversation. And what they mean with that is they were working with a chat room, a solution for that. And what they decided is, instead of talking about issues and work outside the chat room, let's put that into the chat room, and let's also put the work we execute in the chat room, so that we have a full trace of history about all things which happened and were discussed before we did something in production. So they said putting tools in the middle of conversation, that was what they did. Another definition, my own definition, is automate your work and knowledge and make it available via chat. I think that's ChatOps. So that we together automate our knowledge. So we do not have any SQL experts or heroes anymore. No, the SQL expert is making chat commands for us so that we all can execute the same work he does. And together we are also doing our work from the chat room, so we do not go directly to the target environment in acceptance or production, but we do all the work from the chat room. And the second thing, let bots do the work for you. So centralized work from within one chat room where you can have discussions together, but also do execute your work. And how does it look like? You have a team, you have a chat tool, maybe Slack, maybe Skype, maybe Microsoft Teams. Who is doing Microsoft Teams? Oh, you're the first one. I know, but that's okay. It doesn't matter what technology you use. A lot of options there. I personally always used to use Slack as a preferred chat room. And that chat room communicates with bots. It can be different bots. One for maybe for your deployment automation tooling, one for maybe build automation tooling, one for maybe to analyze what's in the logs. Maybe one bot for Elasticsearch to directly go into the details of the logs in case of an issue in production. And that bots talk with infrastructure. Who's doing ChatOps this way? Oh, cool. Yeah.
You want to see?
Yeah.
We'll talk off.
Cool. But you might argue, why ChatOps in a DevOps world? Who has an idea? I made something here, but... Sorry? Yeah?
Yeah. We once used ChatOps for servicing customers, so the customer wanted to talk to our database, so we could talk to something like that. The bottom briefs. We're talking for you, we know that's activation, and we know that they requested the token about us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So self-service things,
Yeah.
that makes it more efficient. At the other hand, and I got it here, you can have a DevOps team with multiple disciplines, but is that really a DevOps team? In my opinion, it's a real DevOps team shares knowledge about different expertise. So you can have one burst DevOps team, so how we call it, with 6 local heroes. I think that's still a problem, because when then the tester is not available, we have a problem. When the developer is not available, still have a problem. They call it nowadays T-shaped, but still there they say that you have a deep knowledge of one thing, and I understand that, but is that a good thing? I don't think so. Other thing is why ChatOps in the DevOps world. No, some people said that DevOps is all about having a culture of automation, measurement, and sharing. But how to ensure that? How to ensure the culture of automation? We can say that we automate everything, but am I really doing that? Not every time. Measurements. How do we trace that? When management comes in and says, okay, what's the progress you made? Oh, we have to make an Excel sheet for that because we're not doing that every time. So why not delivering a chat option, a chat command to that management team, to that manager, so that they can see the progress itself. And sharing, how to ensure knowledge sharing. I think that's an important part to look at. And how does that work? Once you are doing ChatOps, then I think there's one rule you have to apply, and that's that you together decide that we as a team do everything from the command line tooling. So when I think that a given command is automated, I try to check that in the command window. And the nice thing about the chat room is that everyone sees that I try to check that. And at that moment, your team is your witness, so everyone has seen that. And yeah, you have to automate it. And I think if you apply that rule continuously, then you can make that work. And now you can ensure that you have more automation, more knowledge sharing, more measurement. Yes?
My question would be, of course, when you're doing ChatOps,
Yeah.
that already mentioned that the 6 local heroes actually have a mindset that they like to share. I can tell you from experience that most of the times the mindset is that they don't want to share.
No, actually,
intentionally or unintentionally.
Yeah.
So now how do you get people this far, and this is more like psychological themselves, how do you get people this far that they are willing to open up, see their weaknesses and see their strength?
I think the only
That's more, I know, that would be, if you can solve that for me, I would be
Yeah.
very glad.
I think the only way to solve that is if you work as a team, and if all the other team members say that you have to share or automate that commands, put that on the backlog. I think maybe that's the only thing, because you can hire an agile consultant, but when he is gone, I think you get the same behavior. So I think only in a team combination, and then where there's trust there within the team members, then I think
So it's about behavioral change, and
Yeah.
chatbots is a tool for that, or
yeah. But you
a goal.
Yeah, and the nice thing about ChatOps, I think, is that you can measure whether that person has automated that thing, or has shared the knowledge, because you can check it with a command instead of looking at the Wikipedia page and not knowing anything about it, and in that case you're not able to check because he has still the permissions to execute it on the database.
So the final challenge would be behavioral change.
Yeah, and to force that by automating that command. And as a team, you can force that together to ask that person to automate it. I think that's the only solution for that. Or maybe other solutions? Other ones?
Well, I know there's a whole book about organizational changes and how to apply it in your team. I think the book is called Organizational Changes.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something to look
Sorry, I
at.
missed the
Organizational Changes.
yeah.
That's the book.
Therapy.
That's the book.
Therapy, yeah, that's a good one.
Which has patterns on how to introduce these kind of things in your team or organization in general.
Or you can just hire Xpirit so they can teach you how to do it.
Yeah, that's also an option, but when CBI is gone, but that's the goal for CBI, to help you also afterwards. So that's, I think, the problem. So let's start with the basics of ChatOps and where to start. And if you like to start with ChatOps together, that would be a good fit to start with. Do not make it too big. So start with notifications. And what I mean with notifications is start by getting notifications from your build or release pipeline into your chat room, so that the value of your chat room grows over time. And after that you can look at maybe database upgrade scripts. So that's the DB owner or DB admin script that one, and you can check that easily.
For me, it's still unclear what it is. It is something with the chat room, and then
good one.
I hope later on I will.
Yeah.
You can fill it in.
Other ones still. I will come to that later, but it's a little fuzzy, but it will come. You can start with DNS registration, maybe restore test data environment, reports, or maybe just make a command to directly see or search in log files if there's something what is not good. So start small, and let's just do a demo.
One question, like, doesn't this get very spammy?
Yeah. So you need you need multiple channels to, and then that's, I think, also a journey to find the correct channels. But yeah, it can be spammy. But I think in the end it will the value is higher than spammy things, and you can do something with coloring. I will show you that.
Yeah.
My question was, can you repeat the question?
Oh, sorry.
Can you repeat the question?
Did you get it, the question?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's do a first demo. Because what chatbots actually is that I created a chatbot, so I will go to my other channel in some minutes. But let's first see what ChatOps really is in the living environment, I prepared up front. And what I can do in this chat room, you see a lot of information. I've sent multiple commands here. And one command is talking with the Azure bot. So I created an Azure bot. And what I want to know is, in production, we are running a microservice architecture. And we have a lot of services here, a contact service, a contract service, a payment service and an invoice service. And because it's in Microsoft architecture, it's event-driven. So challenging in a Microsoft architecture is whether there are some events which are in a dead letter queue or something. Yeah? So because in a Microsoft architecture we have to ensure that when something happens here, that we have an event that also notifies other services, because otherwise we would be inconsistent. We become inconsistent. And that's, for example, one thing you can automate. Instead of just waiting and just hoping that everything works, wouldn't it be better that we create a bot that notifies us when we have more than 5 or maybe more than 10 events in the dead letter queue? And that's what ChatOps, what the ChatOps movement also says: automate things and make them available from your central chat room, chat environment where you communicate with each other. Who doesn't know Slack? Slack common? Okay, what you see here is a Slack environment, and in Slack you have multiple channels. It's kind of like WhatsApp, you have multiple groups in WhatsApp, so I can create a new channel here, and I can invite given people to this channel. For now, it's just an empty channel, so if I can type anything in it, but no others are in this channel, and here I can invite others to be part of this channel. So you can communicate in the channels over all things you like. I also have a general channel here, and in my general channel all my team members are part of that. What I mentioned just before is I created an Azure bot which gives me information about the number of messages which is my event, which is not picked up by the other servers. And I can show you that. I will first run my bot. Okay. So when I type in the command, please Azure chatbot check for me the number of messages on the service bus, and in this resource group, based on this namespace and based on this topic, the Azure bot will provide me with the information about the number of messages in that bus. And at this moment there are messages in the topic, so that's good. Do we follow it till here? Yeah? Yeah, oh, that's another bot I provided.
The GitHub bot was not available.
No. So that's actually what ChatOps is. So when I want to restore a database in production, they haven't made a chatbot for that. But I could say, okay, SQL bot, restore, and then with a lot of values, maybe the backup is this one, the server location is SQL acceptance 1, and so on. And instead of doing it via SQL command management tooling, I do it from the chat room.
And what would you say are, for this use case, would be the advantages, for example, over using command line tooling?
Yeah.
Where something a bit similar maybe? So
yeah.
How does this then help?
Yeah, command line tooling is also great. We also have on the Microsoft stack Azure CLI, but then still you have to start multiple toolings and have to execute multiple logons. And within the chat room, you can also minimize that inefficiency. That would be the only thing. And especially when there are already command line commands to do some work in AWS or Azure, then it's easy to integrate that in one single chat room. So the idea is multiple bots which can react on a command in the chat room. And let's start with a fresh environment. So I just created this environment, and let's add some information into this Slack chat room environment, because I think now team members will not join because there's no information in it. So the first thing I would like to do is going to the Slack website and going to the bots part of this Slack website. What I can do here is adding an own bot. So I can give it a name, and maybe you would say continuous delivery Amsterdam. Is that a good name for a bot? It's not descriptive, but it's a bit low-case.
CDA.
CDA, okay, that's also good. And I say add bot integration, and by doing this, Slack will generate for me a unique code. And if I use that code, I can interact with the Slack environment. So you see this code here, it's an API token. And I can also give my bot an image. You can also choose an emoticon, I need that one. Continuous delivery. Amsterdam. What does this bot do? Yeah. Maybe in the SQL case, I would say, okay, this bot is responsible for all SQL related activities, but for now it's just fun. And you see that when I'm creating this bot and I'm specifying the settings for this bot, that it is not added to any channel. I will do that afterwards. Another thing you can do is add an IP rate. And I think I would say everyone should do this, because otherwise, when someone has your token, he is able to put any information in your chat room. So I would not like that. For now, I leave it this way. So if you have copied this code, you can annoy me now. Okay, let's save this integration. Copy this code. Okay, so it's saved. And let's just open our development IDE. In this case, Visual Studio. It's kind of like the same as Eclipse. And let's say my demo bot. Oh, it's slow. And now I have an option to choose in different frameworks. You have a lot of frameworks to create your own bot. I made a decision to choose the easiest one, and that is Nobot. It's just a very lightweight implementation of a bot framework. And you have the Nobot core and all modules around it, but I only need the Slack connector. I will install that one. This is a NuGet package. It's actually the same as a Maven package, NPM package. On the Microsoft stack we have NuGet packages. And what I'm going to do now is not very nice, but it's okay for now. This is not production code, so I'm allowed to do this. And what I can do here is static Slack connector. That connector is new. Let's say connector is new Slack connector. Let's reload. Intelligence should help me here. I will see where the right NuGet package. Yeah, that should be nice. I'll just peek here because oh man, for me.
Channel helps.
Sorry? Sorry?
Nah.
Ask the bot.
Yeah, I can ask the bot. I will just copy it. Otherwise it takes too long. So let's do it here. And I will just take this out. Okay. And what I can do now is, while this connector is listening, I want to first connect to a given Slack environment. So I just copy the code. And it's just simple as this, and I have connection with my Slack environment. But let's do some real cool stuff with this connector and with this bot we created. So let's say, okay, bot. I have to save this connection. Possible here, so I have to do it. I now have a connection. I can do a lot of things with this connection. And one thing I can do is, okay, just give me a message or give me a callback call, once a message is received. So let's do that one. And let's do something then at that moment. So when a given person puts on a given channel in this chat room a message, we got a callback in this method. And let's say, okay, connection. Let's see what we can see from that message. You have different options. The message, the Slack message that comes in, one thing you can trace there is the Slack chatter. And that's actually the channel. So, what I said, that it's now notified for every event which occurs in every channel. But maybe I don't want to send to every channel a response, only at the channel where I received the message. The other thing which is important here is that maybe you do not want to just give a reply on everything in the chat room, but just only when you as a bot are mentioned. So the first thing I will do here is, if my bot is mentioned, then you are allowed to do some work. Other thing here is that I only want to send a response in that given channel. I can go along with this demo, but I think it's better to just show you the code here. So what I showed you is it's very easy with this framework to create a new bot. So you start with if the bot is mentioned, and then a good practice is to just directly reply to the person who sent the command and indicate that you as a chatbot are typing. Otherwise, people will send you multiple commands at a time to the bot. So a good one is just indicate that you are typing. And you see here that I just sent a message to that given channel. After that, it's good to just see what's in the message. And what I did here is, in the original message, you also get the user, which was called. So in this case, the name of my chatbot. So I split that up, and in the end, I have a given format. So it starts with, I can show you that here. It starts with the name of the bot, then the command, and all the other things in that sentence are just parameters. And that's what I'm doing here. So I first filter out the command, and then all arguments. And what you can do then is, it's just coding. Look at what command was mentioned, and based on that, execute your action. And in this case, what I just showed you about the Azure bot, it is connecting to Azure API and calling that API to see what messages are in this bus. So in this case, it just looks at the topic. For example, when I want to count the message for a given topic, and it gives me the response, what messages are installed. Questions about this? Is this rocket science? Not yet, so it's very easy. I think in 20 minutes you have a bot, your first implementation. And the nice thing is, you do not only have an option to send just text, but we can also style our messages. Let's do that. So what I will do here is that I will extend my normal bot message with an attachment. And if I do that, you can do a lot of things with styling, coloring, etc. So let's create a new list of Slack attachments. And let's just add a new Slack attachment there. And because it's a possibility, let's set a given color. Who knows the hex code of red? Gray, I know, but I'll just do it this way. So it will be in gray color. We can put text in this attachment, so some text. And let's put the title. Attachments. Okay, now I added an attachment, some advanced thing, just not a normal message, but an attachment, and let's see what it is. I will say, okay, test. Okay, so my bot is running. And what I will do now is just send Azure bot. Command. And you see we have some styled message. That's all in that framework. So that framework helps us to send images, to send even dialogues, where you can give the person who's calling your command a dialogue with buttons. A lot of things you can do with it. So actually you have a full experience that you are talking with a normal person. That's some code demo. I can go further in this framework, but for now I think the concepts and the ideas clear. So now I created my own bot, and I can create a bot for everything. But you do not need to create your own bot, always. No, Slack also provides us with some default bots we can use. If you go to the Slack environment and go to the apps manage page, you can search for some existing bots. GitHub, it's also from Microsoft. So let's do Visual Studio, because it doesn't make sense if you do GitHub of Visual Studio team services. Even Microsoft gave Apple some money to save Apple some years ago. Okay, so let's install this bot into our own channel. So we can select a given channel. So by default the bots are not installed on all channels. So let's do it on general and say add Visual Studio integration. Now we get a whole walkthrough about how to add this integration to Visual Studio, because Slack is by default does not have permissions to our VSTS environment. So what I will do here, I will add and make that permissions. So I go to service group in my VSTS environment. If you don't know VSTS, it's not a problem that you can't follow this screen, but because about concepts, you have to add a so-called service hook, and via that service hook, the existing bot is able to call Visual Studio APIs. So I say, okay, add a service hook from type Slack, and this service hook should provide me information in my Slack room for every build completed. So we will get notification on every build completed in our chat room. And then I have to provide the Slack webhook URL, because Visual Studio will call the Slack webhook endpoint. And that's just here in the manual. Do a test. Yay! We got a message. Okay, let's say finish. And let's just start a build in our build environment. See what happens. I see it's just 2 minutes of work, I think. And you have an integration of notifications in your Slack room about VSTS builds which completes. You can also do it with releases, etc. Okay, that message will come up. But you see, a lot of apps are available already, and I think if you start doing ChatOps, start with that things. Just look at existing bots which are available. Just look at notifications, and you can easily create your own one near that one. Okay, this will run, and this will also automatically trigger our release. The nasty thing about VSTS, so I'm not colored there, I'm also critical about myself, is that whenever you have a release definition and a release created, but also with other release tooling, you have to approve it sometimes. You can specify that a given person has to approve before we can deploy it to a given environment. But the only way the person can do that is via the VSTS UI. And actually, I don't like that. I would just want to be able to do that from my Slack room. So there's also another integration. I will not show that here. I can integrate one. It's just some minutes of work. And that's the VSTS bot. And if you install this bot into your Slack environment, you get the option to just click on buttons in your chat room, and by doing that you approve the release. And if you do that, all things, all communication, all work you execute will come into that single chat room. Okay, let's wait till the build is finished. And I think it's almost finished. Okay, I will for now we'll go ahead. Good one. Okay, we have seen a little bit about the frameworks which are available. There are a lot of frameworks available. But it's just to give you an idea how much work it is, and I think it's ease of getting. I started this talk about doing ChatOps, that you have to start with notifications and logging. But we've also seen that in advanced scenarios, ChatOps can also help you. In really high performing environments where you have to be always available, yet you can still have a Kubernetes cluster and having also to pod auto scaling, or that Kubernetes cluster manage that on downtime the new pod is created. Still, I think you need some monitoring on maybe memory leaks or queues which are getting more and more messages. And I think for that cases, even in DevOps environments, ChatOps can help you. Okay, what's a good practice I learned at different customers? I implemented ChatOps with different frameworks also. We always followed the structure of give it a service name. That's actually the bot name. That's maybe SQL, maybe VSTS, maybe Azure, maybe AWS. Give it an action. So SQL bots. upgrade. That's the action. And then give it a set of, or maybe a dictionary of key values with the parameters for that action. So maybe in the case of SQL, upgrade this given SQL instance. Other thing is, think about the naming, because that's the hardest part. You should have naming which everyone understands, so that new team members easily can join into the chat room, and that's why I think ChatOps can help also with onboarding new team members, because they can easily just scroll through the chat room and see what happened at a given moment to solve a given job. And they can also just figure out what commands they can use in the daily work. So look at that naming and make it like you were talking with a real person, to make it easy for new members to join. Other one, make that command short. Maybe just graph, and maybe if I want to see the Neo4j graph on acceptance, no. Then I can make a Neo4j bot and say, Neo4j, give me the graph, and then for this given environment. So think about that clear language. This is actually the most important thing I think about implementing ChatOps right. Then some benefits. I think the benefit is documentation in place. Instead of having documentation on a Wikipedia portal or in a Word document, you just have it in your chat room and you have automated it. So everyone is able to do a given and execute a given task. It's scalable. You can easily add new team members because they are able to learn it with commands, also you can replace each other easier. You easily have a shared context, and this one is important, I think, if you look at traditional environments where you have just a separate operation guy, security guy. I as a developer am not able to see what he did to solve the issue or to investigate what the issue was. In this case, if you have a shared chat room, everyone can see what that given person did, because we followed the idea to do that work in a centralized chat room. Another thing is also that you have an audit log. So if I do something, everyone can see it, so maybe I will not do some nasty things anymore. It's efficient, I think. Less ways, instead of logging into different environments. It's just in one central chat room where I can directly execute my work. It's fast because we automated a lot of things. It's fun. We have one project at Xpirit where we make a microservice architecture for a given customer, and we have looked at, we have one Xpirit team. So we are also doing ChatOps there, and we have some funny things in it. Maybe that if the build fails, then you get some noise or something, color. Automatic logging, so every action you do, everything you, every communication you have with the target environments in production, acceptance tests are logged. It's safe. I heard a lot of organizations. We also worked at a given customer where development teams, once they wanted to deploy their application to production, were held back by the security guy. And he said, yeah, you guys don't understand me. It would be a nice thing to talk together with the security guy and to script the things he thinks are important. And it enables collaboration within the team. So I think the ops role will become more invisible because we have a lot of more commands. And I mentioned you, once the build is done, I would expect a given notification in my chat room. And you see here, I get a notification that my build is succeeded. And so you can extend a lot of notification in that chat room. Okay. Then one last thing. I would say put the team into the next team, start doing ChatOps, just figure out what it is and see whether it can help you. And I think in many cases you have some work which you are doing every day and you do not like to do. And in that case, I think you should think about maybe we can automate it and start doing it from the chat room and then extend that together. As an example, we have automated the test data backup restore procedure. So once we have our customers have executed a usability test, and we are restoring that test data so that they can do that usability test again and again. And same with exploratory testing. For all the other environments, you have automated that, so in that case it's less necessary. You have automated that via release pipeline, but in manual environments where you still have people manually interacting with the environments, that's a nice thing to automate. So, that was my session. I'm not sure whether there are questions.
How would you document your actions and your interface?
Yeah, good one. What we do is that we
Make a wiki page.
no, just make a command, a help command on your bot. And I did it not here. I had some examples for a GOTS customer. But what we normally do is just add a case here. So instead of a give command, add a help here and give a response of all possible actions with a description. Good one. Yeah?
What drove your decision on choosing these frameworks? Because there are a lot of frameworks and
Yeah.
other languages. So what was your rationale when you picked?
No bot, yeah.
No.
Simplicity. It was. You also have the Microsoft Bot framework, but that was more designed for human interactions where you have to store the state of earlier discussions you had with the user. But for a chatbot, it's just I want to execute this command now, and I do not need to track some historical information. You have some other frameworks, but Nobot came up directly with a good integration in Slack. It's also just Slack integration. You've seen it. The Microsoft Bot framework, on the other hand, has integration with Skype, with Slack, with out of the box. But if you don't need it, why should you choose for that framework? Yeah. Yeah.
So are there any frameworks which are more lean toward operations? Like for example, I would like to create a bot, a chatbots bot, which will be able to log SSH to one server and then issue an Apache restart.
Yeah.
So can you please share some knowledge about which are those frameworks and how we can use them?
For ops guys, you mean?
Yeah, for all guys, because what we are speaking here is like ChatOps, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I chose here for actually this framework can also be used by the ops guys, but C# coding is hard for them. So you also have a PowerShell bot option. I forgot the name. Right? Yesterday I followed a session about ChatOps for ops guys, and so if you look at a given scripting language, you will find an ops framework. For me, it was I just looked at C# frameworks.
I used
But it's a good one. Yeah.
ERR bot, which is made in Python. So it's Python's.
And you can use ubot from GitHub.
Yeah, ubot is also for Python.
It's all in Node.js, I think.
Yeah.
ubot.
Where does this code run? Because Slack is on the cloud, but maybe our services on premise.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have to, for example, in this example, I have to run something on premise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what we normally do, we just put that Slack bot into a container, along with our other applications we deploy, and with the restricted access to restricted machines. But that's a good one. And actually, you do not want. Sometimes you want the chatbot to access the machines, for example, to see some event logging or to trace that one. But be aware of that. So we actually now use it mostly just call the endpoints, the HTTP endpoints to make it more secure.
I think it's very interesting, but at the same time, especially for the examples you've given, I'm not convinced. Because for this thing, I would expect that my service bus or whatever provides me all kinds of services to provide this information in a neat dashboard or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we have solutions like, what is it, Elasticsearch, Kibana, or what is it, the other frameworks or tooling that allows me to combine information from different sources and present them on a nice dashboard.
You still want a dashboard, but what we do is we have a Kibana dashboard and we provide it via the chat room. So we make a command, so because also management asks us about what's the state, etc. And we say, okay, you just execute that command. For example, New Relic dashboards have performance, availability, and we use this one for observability. We use Elasticsearch, so that we can just look very fast into the logs of Elasticsearch. That's where we use it for. But I understand your doubt. Will this work? There's some benefit in doing it because at my current project I know about Elasticsearch and Grafana dashboards, other colleagues not. So actually I want them also to learn that thing.
But at the same time you're kind of wrapping things. Basically you're learning a new language. For example, for your SQL stuff, you say like, yeah, we have a very decent set, we have a decent technology of working with databases, and then you say, okay, we're wrapping it, we provide you with often less functionality.
Flexibility.
And so you don't have to learn the actual stuff, so we provide you with an easier interface. And I'm not sure if that's...
Yes, you still need some expertise, but the problem is that you got local heroes, and to minimize that.
That's a normal diversity of your community that you have. That's your craftsmanship that you have in your.
Yeah, still.
Not all of the craftsmanship you can put into code.
That's why we are hired also. But I think at the other end, what if that person is not available? I think then ChatOps can help you, and it will also give me some time as an operations guy to do some other things, to learn some new things. But sorry?
Create bots.
To create bots, yeah. And just to do it not for very advanced things maybe, but for the recurring activities, it will definitely make you more efficient. And like upgrading databases or restoring a database backup, that kind of things. Yeah. We did that. We did not make a command for everything. Huh? So to be honest, and not for just for recurring things. And we see, okay, this is recurring now multiple times.
I can understand that. That's.
And especially when management asks us about progress, we now just we use VSTS. Then we have to add the whole business also to VCS, and we can do that. We can also, the business is already in Slack, so we created a chat command so that they can see it themselves, instead of adding them all to the VSTS dashboard, which is maybe a development tool.
I have one thing, bots are especially helpful for ops.
Yeah.
They can be a great thing. Except the one thing I keep missing is you put a lot of faith in the authentication and authorization of the chat room that you use. And Qbot, for example, has a module for authentication, but it's still just a module. It's not integrated into the Qbot framework. So my question is, how do you see authorization being handled in the wild? What kind of things have you seen happening? Because essentially you're punching a hole through a number of security layers if you're not careful.
Yeah, so you have to be careful about that. So I normally also extend my bots with some security checks. So they go to maybe they look at a given Active Directory group and see whether this user which asks the commands is a part of that group.
Do you have any extra authentication for the user? Because you'll be relying solely on the fact that Slack has authenticated the device and user that's requesting it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Currently not at the previous company we did. We made some extra checks there, but yeah, it depends. It also depends on the command. Yeah, but we rely on the fact that everyone can see the command and also is able to roll back that command. Good one. Yeah.
The conscience question or conscience debate. So the phrase ChatOps was coined by GitHub in 2010.
Yeah.
We're now 8 years later.
Yeah.
And it didn't really take off. Needless to say that Slack did take off. So collaboration, working together, sharing knowledge and sharing your operations is definitely a big thing, and I think we can all agree it's the way to go.
Yeah.
But again, what I see here, and don't take me wrong, is a demonstration of Slack. I know Slack. I know what it can do. I know the integration.
Yeah.
So how does this relate to ChatOps? It's just a term. But in the end, this is what I see, Slack.
I tried to give you an example implementation of how to implement ChatOps. The starting slides were about the concept ChatOps, and that's broader than just Slack. It goes about automating your knowledge and your work, and that for me is ChatOps. And how you do that, you can do it in different ways. But for me, it makes ChatOps because you make them available in a chat room. And in this case, I just gave Slack as an example. But that's true. So it can also be Skype or maybe Microsoft Teams. But the real movement about ChatOps is about just automating your work, your knowledge, and make them available via chat. That's for me the definition.
One final question. Is there a ChatOps movement?
It's just ChatOps is just a term. Is there a DevOps movement? To be honest, I don't like the term DevOps because I think it goes about continuous delivery, delivering value to the end customer. And whether we choose DevOps as a practice or maybe other practices. So actually I tricked in my session title because I'd like to add continuous delivery model, but now it was ChatOps and DevOps.
Another question. So, is there any, you can point out some real ChatOps integration for some enterprise, some company where they really use it, not just for fun or just for development teams can do fun stuff. So, do you know any serious installation of ChatOps usage in practice? How big it is?
Over the past 1.5 years, we started doing it. We have one financial institution where we are doing it, but it's starting. And why are we doing that? Because we see that they still have different units and silos, and they do not talk with each other. And they say that was with the little children, and so SecOps sees developers as little children, and at the other end, developers see SecOps as, oh man, that's a nasty man. He's always complaining. And to help them, we facilitated some workshops to just automate some of the things like certificates. It took a while to do that. Now you have Let's Encrypt, so let's just automate that things. Or DNS request. Why should we go for a DNS request via security? And if you have to go via security, just let him approve it by the chat room instead of a long request cycle. So that's
basically what you're telling is kind of self-service of some operational
it's just how you
stuff.
brand it,
And if you provide it via a chat option or via a web interface or via whatever, that's not. Now it's a chat interface.
But they both work, in my opinion, with bots. So if you so it's self-service actually. Yeah.
But the nice thing about it, what I like, is that it's shared. And in the self-service environment, you go to a website and you request a DNS name. But now, if you put it in the ChatOps, your whole team sees what you're doing.
Yeah, but
that's the idea I like about ChatOps.
Yeah, but it's still executed by the ops team. There's not
Sorry,
not some manager in the bank would go and do a DNS request or do some certificate installation.
If he's part of the DevOps team and he needs something, he can do it.
Well, as I've understood, ChatOps is like a term which allows citizen operation, like non-experienced people to execute some basic things which operation teams can be doing.
But I also mentioned that you can also make use of the I call it ChatOps, of bots and then a communication channel to provide management themselves with reporting automatically. That kind of thing. Instead of that they asking us to join a Waro meeting, we can just send out a report and say, okay, we are working on this issue, and you can track the progress. You can see what we are doing. That kind of thing. So it's broader than the development team, but we always start with ops, security, and development. And we have some customers where we provided some reports just for the product owner, so not further in the business yet, but I think it will come.
I think there's a lot to do with maturity as well, because first you need a team that reads the chats, then you need a team that communicates the chat, and then you need a team that shares the knowledge between themselves. Because I've heard cases where, I don't want to put my docs in the chat, everyone will see it, so I will not do it. And the other layer is how you can extract this knowledge from this person or whatever, super you, and put in the automation way. So it's a level.
Yeah, it's also you find your way in that. To come back to the security thing, you were triggering me. Indeed, there's a issue with security that if I type of someone instead of me types in a chat, a command into chat, we might have a problem. But at the other side, make sure that we can be sure that no one can access given environments without the chat, and we can just save that things, and we say, okay, you can only make some changes into environments via chat. So that's also a trade-off you can think about.
Just a point to add. We use it in some other, we use it not just for automating quick things, but for easing the day-to-day activities. For example, in our company, we use this for updating. So in my company, we get food and they have a specific menu every day. So what we do is we just type menu for the day to a bot, and it just gives us what we have in the menu. So we can automate many things like this, and it's pretty fun. And when we do this in the whole, like say Amsterdam office room, we have the entire team knowing, okay, this is the menu for today. And it's many such things are fun.
That's also a nice example.
I don't know how it solves your correlative problems, but
that are fun things.
It starts with what is less than maturity. Get people granted with our best enough. Then comes.
I totally agree with you. But it's not called ChatOps, it's called collaboration.
Yeah. So
Chatbot, like where you go to an airplane company and there's no one who can help you. Oh, hello, my name is Goran, would like to book a ticket. Do you like to do it next week? But that's not ChatOps.
no, that's not.
Release.
No, so the definition for ChatOps is more development team related. We are working on a daily basis in a development team. So if you do that one, it's more self-service, but the ideas are the same. So it's just a branding. So pick what you went from this session, but it's the idea of maybe we can do better than we do nowadays. And maybe we can be smarter to just make use of bots, make use of the technology which is available to improve every day. I think that's actually what I wanted to expose and give you in mind to think about that one. Because actually it's, if you have that example of that local heroes, that example of new team members, that kind of things, why do we do not have time for that? And why does that take so much effort? Other questions? Is it clear what ChatOps is a little bit?
Ik kan er wel wat uit. I can imagine, but still I'm wondering.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.